Thank you so much for tuning into our third mock draft hosted on Sleeper. Be sure to download Sleeper if you have not already. You can find the download link in the description below. And today I'm joined with some familiar faces here. Things are getting a little crazy here with the football season about to kick off. We will not be doing an episode of the Footballguys mailbag show this week, but it just didn't feel right for us not to get together. So I am joined with the mailbag crew. Right below me, you can see Victoria Geary and Troy King. Victoria, let everyone know where they can find you on social media, what you got going on. I think that there's a game you might be looking forward to in a couple of days that you might want to tell us about.
Absolutely. You can find me at FFB_Victoria on Twitter and Instagram, y'all. I cannot wait for the Bills versus Rams game in a couple of days. I'm flying out tomorrow. It's going to be lit.
I didn't even realize. I knew you were going to LA. That's what you're going for?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course. Can't wait to
Watch
see
out,
everybody,
Los Angeles. Watch out. Bills Mafia is coming to town. Well, I am so stoked for you, Victoria. What a fun way to kick off your season. Down at the bottom of my screen, we are joined with Troy King, somebody else who is also pretty excited, probably a little less excited knowing that the Patriots have just had y'all's number for the last few years and they're going to come down to Miami and kick that butt. But either way, Troy, how are you feeling?
Hold on one second. We swept the Patriots last year, just FYI.
Last year. You did. Yeah, you did.
And
you beat up on a rookie
not
quarterback
talking
for the
about
first
last 20
time in
years
2
or
decades.
anything.
Real happy for you, man.
Man, y'all can find me at T King Mode on Twitter and all social media platforms. You can ignore the host. Says I'm excited for the Dolphins. I was just in LA last weekend, but I'm jealous that Vic gets to go to LA and watch the Bills and Rams. That's gonna be so fun. You gotta tell us all about it when you get back.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And we will be back next week with the mailbag show. As always, ready to answer so many pressing questions after what is expected to be a crazy week 1 of NFL football. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and kick off this draft. As usual, we are doing a single QB PPR redraft mock here. Looking at the roster, we're going to be a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, kicker, defense. And then we're going to keep it a short bench. We don't have to go with our super deep pulls here today. We got some familiar faces in today's draft, but I got to say, people are kind of done mock drafting at this point. It's a little bit tough being 2 days away from kickoff. Most people have mock drafted at this point. So the fun thing about Sleeper is if you can't fill up a mock draft, they will use AI to make those picks for you. So here we are. I'm going to be picking at the 101. We've got Victoria at 3, Ryan Pros at 4, Jeff Bell, another fellow football guy at 105. And then we've got T King Mode, Troy King, down at the 12th spot.
Shout out to my boy Nubs that just joined the draft. Sorry.
And we see Nubs in the draft as well. So let's go ahead and kick this off. I am going to start with the 101, and this one is a no-brainer for me considering we are playing in full PPR. Been saying it all offseason. Drafting Chris McCaffrey is drafting to win. Jonathan Taylor is drafting not to lose, and that is what I'm doing with this draft, drafting to win with Christian McCaffrey. Ooh, I know.
Whoa.
That's probably what you were looking for at 103, Vic, but I think you might have been gifted with a nice little pick there at 3 overall.
That's exactly who I was going to take at 3 overall was Eckler. Look at Eckler goes out the board at 2. I can't not take Jonathan Taylor. I was debating either Eckler or Justin Jefferson there at 3, but I can't not take Jonathan here.
And, we talk about this. I've been mentioning this recently. We're getting to the point where we are just overanalyzing, I feel, where Jonathan Taylor is slipping to number 3. I did a draft the other day where I got Cooper Kupp at 7th. I mean, we're just at the point now where we have been staring at spreadsheets way too long, and we are making some silly picks. But I got to say, this AI is pretty on theme with what I have seen in drafts that I've been doing lately. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We got 5 picks right there, and 4 of those 5 picks were running backs. I'm sure you guys have done your home league drafts, work league drafts, all that. Have you guys kind of noticed the same thing where it has been heavy with the running backs going off the board early?
Absolutely. Always is, usually.
And, we saw all these strategy pieces throughout the offseason saying, hey, running backs are getting pushed down draft boards. This is the year that you should wait on running back. And then what happens 2-3 weeks before the season kicks off? Everybody starts drafting, and it is running backs off the board. Now, speaking of running back, Troy, I love that start for you. I mean, what is happening where you can get Alvin Kamara in the 2nd round? Like, people know that he's not going to be suspended at this point, right?
I feel like people just haven't adjusted yet to Alvin Kamara guys. Like, you can still get Alvin Kamara. If you have a last-minute draft, you can get Kamara again, late first, early second. To me, I wish it was a real draft. I don't know. I mean, we're going to be going against a bunch of computers, but I wish this was a real draft, though.
I got to say, though, this AI is pretty sharp, though. I mean, this is kind of what I see. I see
Nice.
Diggs here
Yeah.
at 205. That's what really jumps out to me. I've been taking Diggs as
Yeah.
early as 8th or 9th overall. I would be
Mhm.
thrilled to get Diggs this late. But in the draft that we did last week with Alfredo Brown and Sigmund Bloom, it was kind of flip-flopped. Stephon Diggs went 7th overall, and then Derrick Henry, who went 6th overall in this draft, fell into the mid-second. I believe he went 207 overall.
I came down to the
207?
wire there. I wanted to. I almost switched up my little draft strategy here and took Tyreek Hill, but it just didn't feel right. I'm
I had
all
my
in
eye
on
on
it.
Kyle Pitts and just realized that Jeff sniped me on
Jeff
that.
was
I
not going to let that
know,
happen.
right?
Yo, I see. That's the thing. So, like, I mean, one thing I like is, and I think it kind of happens every year, like wide receiver is so deep that you don't necessarily have to go early, but not all wide receivers are created equally. So you see to get an elite wide receiver, even though it's a deep position. I feel like it's always tough, right? Like, how are you going to start off the draft? So, and I see tight ends have been going like, Victor says George Kittle. I've seen him fall in drafts. So I feel like some people are realizing, hey, George Kittle is George Kittle. But I've seen him going a lot later in drafts recently.
Yeah.
Same.
And he's one of those guys. Yeah. I mean, like when I see him at 303, I see nothing egregious with that. I think that's a perfectly fine pick there. But then I've seen other drafts where he slips into the 6th or 7th round. I mean, he's a guy that, like you said, George Kittle is George Kittle. Like we know what this guy can do when he's healthy. And, I don't even know if there's, my hot take for years has been that George Kittle is better than Travis Kelce. And the only reason that we don't rank him that way is because of injuries. I think George Kittle is the best tight end in football. Now, one of the concerns that I have with George Kittle is that we know that this team is going to skew towards being a little bit more run heavy with Trey Lance as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm afraid that might come at the expense of George Kittle, where they're going to say, hey, we need you in line. We need you blocking more. We're going to be running the ball more, and you need to get in there and bang up some bodies. That scares me a little bit because, George Kittle feasted on those short throws from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if he'll be seeing that same type of work with Trey Lance.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Some of these some of these computers are definitely going the robust RB strategy, which is not too bad. It could work.
Give some value our way.
You're right. And quarterbacks going early as well. So look, it happens, right? It happens in drafts all the time. Even if it's a 1 QB league, it's not surprising, again, to take Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert early because, look, people just don't like to stream the QB position. Sometimes you just want to set it and forget it. And so I can't always blame people for getting, not I would say getting crazy, but trying to take a quarterback early.
Speaking of quarterback early, this is my guy, my QB2 right here. I'm more than happy to get Lamar Jackson. It's kind of crazy to me that he's going this late. I mean, he consistently goes as like the QB4, QB5 off the board. He's my QB2. I mean, as soon as Josh Allen is off the board, I'm thinking about taking Lamar. It's kind of crazy that he just continues sliding, especially now with the lack of weapons. I mean, it's Rashad Bateman, who, we're not entirely sold on. We don't know Rashad Bateman's going to be a ton of potential, but far from a sure thing. Mark Andrews is really the only weapon there. Now with J.K. Dobbins, maybe not ready to play week 1. Gus Edwards definitely not ready to play week 1. Do we really think that Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake are going to be getting a heavy workload? I mean, it wouldn't shock me one bit if Lamar Jackson is getting 12 carries per game to start the season.
I mean, Lamar Jackson is going to do Lamar Jackson things. Like, yeah, I think he's going as a value right now. I'm curious how this turn's going to look because I have my eye on somebody. So, speaking of quarterbacks, I'm not going to.
Victoria, I heard you groan over that Allen Robinson pick. I think that is amazing value. I almost took Allen Robinson over DK Metcalf. What was that groan about?
I debated DK at my Dobbins pick too, and I was just like, we already said it. The wide receiver value. I mean, you still got guys like Michael Thomas on the board. Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got Mooney. You've got Gabe. DeAndre Hopkins is coming up. I mean, the value that Elijah Moore, Alan Lazard, Brandon Ayuk, these guys fall so far that I don't blame these computers for taking those robust running back strategies sometimes. I did debate Jalen Hurts there to get that stack, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, but figured if there's one guy that made it around to me, I don't know if he's going to make it back to me, but I'd be comfortable with.
Was it who Troy just took?
No. I'm talking quarterback, but
yeah, that's a nice 5-6 turn right there. Jalen Hurts and Gabe Davis. I like that, Troy.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Now, what do we expect with Gabe Davis? I just looked at the numbers. He's only been in the league for 2 years, but throughout his career, 6 points per game in weeks 1 through 11, and then in weeks 12 through 18, he averages double. I mean, this is 2 years in a row now, his rookie season and his sophomore season. We saw him get off to a slow start, pretty much non-existent, and then get red hot down the stretch. Are we going to see that over the course of a full season this year, Vic? I'll let you make your pick, but talk to me about Gabe Davis.
I will talk to you after I make this little pick here.
While she's making a pick, I'll say that Gabe Davis, his target share can only go up, right? Because again, it's been pitiful the last 2 years. So I'm expecting to see a significant increase from what we've seen. He's the lock-in number 2 receiver. I don't expect like Isaiah McKenzie or anyone like that to step in and take more targets than him. But who knows? Emmanuel Sanders took more targets than him, so anything's possible. But I think that Gabe Davis is going to be number 2 on the team. I think he's also going to be looked at in the red zone along with Dawson Knox. But I think he's a red zone target. I think we're going to see an increase in target share. So I'm optimistic. I think some people are way more optimistic on him than I am, but I do like his value this year. Well, not his value. I just like his prospects of what he could be.
His outlook. I mean, it's pure ceiling. Exactly. And I think we realize that, but you can't ignore the reports coming out of Buffalo that Gabe Davis has just been ready to step up. Was it Steve Smith saying that he's one of the best guys he's ever seen play before? I mean,
he's got that dog in him, I heard. So that's totally, that's a huge factor. No, there's no way. This is not a stats analyst. You can't look at Gabe's anything from the last couple of years and be like, here's the reason why he's going to pop off because of these stat lines. Obviously, you've seen him have the 600 yards, the 7-8 touchdown seasons, and that's who he's been. I just think he's just ready. You got to listen to what's coming out of camp with what you guys have already said, what's coming out of the coaches' mouths. It's coming out of Josh's mouth, the players. He's ready. And you got Stephon Diggs taking that number 1 CB coverage every single game. And then you're going to have Gabe on the outside looking to get those targets. He just needs to get peppered. The problem with the Bills, the only reason Troy, you got him as your 3rd wide receiver. I'm not worried at all about him there. If I sometimes would worry if you've got him as your wide receiver 2, potentially, because he's going to have weeks where he pops, and then he's going to have weeks where those targets are going to go to Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is going to have 2 touchdowns. Josh spreads the ball out. That's the thing. So as your wide receiver 3, I love that. When he was going so high that we've been seeing all offseason, that was very worrisome. But
and I've seen him go as high as like the 4th round, and I got him in the 6th. So it's like, that was good value.
Especially an underdog where people are chasing that Buffalo Bills stack. That's when you see Gabe Davis going real high.
Right.
Now, I got to say, looking at the board, I hate the Tyreek Hill pick that I made in the 3rd round. I've been saying all offseason that I don't like Tyreek Hill there because you got to pay up for Tyreek Hill, and you can wait on guys like Michael Pittman and T. Higgins and DJ Moore, these guys that I got a little bit later. But just put me in a weird spot, and I keep looking at the board. I don't know who I would have taken over Tyreek. The guy that I was really hoping for at the 2-3 turn was A.J. Brown, and you jumped the gun on him, Vic, and that's who I really wanted. So I keep looking. Would you be taking any of these guys over Tyreek? Keenan Allen, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Josh Allen, Ezekiel Elliott, anybody here? Are you taking those guys over Tyreek, or was Tyreek the pick there?
Tyreek was
Vic, you're on the clock, so I'll let you make your pick.
I think I would have still taken Tyreek over those guys. Dave, I don't mind your pick there.
I think Deebo would have been debatable, but
my gosh,
Allen Lazard
auto picked out of Allen Lazard.
That was gonna be my pick. I'm going risky here, risky for the biscuit. Rashad Penny, a little early.
I just talked about him in a video I recorded today. Is he the guy that we saw for the first 32 games of his career, or the man that we saw for the last 5? We are going to find out very, very soon.
Man, that gets real slim and gross after this.
I'm curious how Dave's gonna go with this 8th, 9th turn. Oh, of course.
No, I'm taking my boy Kmet there.
Cole Kmet.
And then
I like that.
I almost took
all of these wide receivers here. And I knew he wasn't making it back to me, which is why I took him now. I like all these receivers here, but I'm gonna go with the pure upside pick in Treylon Burks. There's a lot of questions about, his breathing and how he's going to do. And, it seems like there's just been, people have been out to get Treylon Burks all off season, but the ceiling with this guy is unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw that preseason clip from a couple of weeks ago where Malik Willis threw the touchdown pass to him. I mean, Treylon Burks, when you just look at like his stature, his size, the way he runs, the way he moves, he looks like a clone of AJ Brown on the field.
He's a Walmart version of AJ Brown right now, but I feel what you're saying.
Yeah, but then the team also just went out and signed Josh Gordon. You see that? Josh Gordon's out there running in camp now.
Oh
so
my gosh!
I don't know, man.
I have such Josh Gordon fatigue.
That's a good value on Dawson Knox. I feel like this team 6, this auto pick, the last few picks have really been getting to me. I wanted Waller, I wanted AJ Dillon, I wanted Lazard. Getting sniped by auto pick out here. I hate to see it.
Team 10 needs to chill. They definitely sniped me on the Kirk pick.
Got somebody in the chat here saying what they are saying about Treylon Burks is what they said about Jamar Chase. Yes, give me some more of that. Inject it. Let me hear more.
I agree there. It's just you wonder if you're gonna see the same exact thing happen. I've been wondering that. I stayed away from chasing some of the drafts. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all because of this stupid wear the laces on the football and blah blah blah, all that stuff last year.
Football's too big to catch.
Yeah, you got to think about that with Burks too. I mean, he's got Robert Woods in front of him, and then what? I know he's on a run-first team, so you worry about rookie coming on and when he'll start popping off. But he's just got Robert Woods there, and there's the opportunity is there. Getting him that late is a great pick.
Yeah. And then speaking of swinging for the fences,
I was going to say
on upside, George just double dipped at 9-10 with George Pickens and Garrett Wilson. I like both of those picks, and I feel like that's a really good strategy. Something that I do often too when I'm picking from the turn is when I get to a point where I need another wide receiver, I will take 2 guys that are just pure dart throws. I mean, George Pickens and Garrett Wilson, these guys are just as likely to finish wide receiver 100 as they are to finish wide receiver 10. But the range of outcomes is there that these guys could have huge seasons. So I feel like you just doubled your chances of hitting on this year's big rookie. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And also because they're my wide receiver 4 and 5, that's where you go for the upside, right? It's just like, and the other, because the earlier picks, those are easy, right? You get your studs, and then later you got to swing for the fences, right? That makes the difference between, missing the playoffs and not missing the playoffs. Those few little points with the upside. So
completely agree.
Jeff Bell tilting on the clock here, really taking his time down to the final seconds just to select Michael Carter. You hate to see it.
Yikes, Jeff.
Look, my guy
I wanted that Daryl Henderson. Daryl Henderson is who I really had my eyes on there.
Me too. I just had him in my queue. You know who I'm going to go for here? A guy that I've had in almost every draft this season so far, Michael Gallup. He's just falling so far, and I just wonder, they're being so secretive on his recovery. They're saying they have his status as out right now, and then, you got Jerry Jones being like, but I didn't say he was out yet for this week. And if I asked him to do anything. Listen
to a word that comes out of Jerry Jones's mouth. That would be my... Yeah, Jerry Jones scares me. I mean, he's not a guy that I can put too much weight into what he says. But, I mean, Michael Gallup, yeah, he's going to be the wide receiver too when he's healthy. I mean, no disrespect to Jalen Tolbert or Dalton Schultz, but Michael Gallup is eons more talented than either of those guys. Troy, I saw you were trying to say something. What's up?
Oh, no, I was saying the only thing that you could believe is that all the hype he says around Zeke, like, look, that's the only guarantee, right? They're going to feed Zeke the ball. I feel like that's the only thing that Jerry says that's actually going to come true.
Let me ask you, we were talking about Daryl Henderson a little bit ago. We were talking about Daryl Henderson, a guy that I have had no interest in whatsoever this offseason is Cam Akers. No, I do like Daryl Henderson. Do not like Cam Akers. Yeah. I was in my home league draft the other day, and Cam Akers slid to me in the 8th round. We're taking him there, right?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. 8th is ridiculous.
Correction. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where I think people get scared off by him because of the injury. And sure, I'm scared too, but I went with the hero running back build where DeAndre Swift was my running back 1, and then able to get to get Cam Akers as an RB2 in the 8th round. That just felt kind of crazy to me.
That's absolutely ridiculous. I love that. It just, you worry because you say, okay, we haven't really seen a true example of coming back from an injury like that, where they come back and they're still able to pop off. Man,
Deonta Foreman, just last year we saw Deonta Foreman.
True, but
what I'll also say is basketball. We've got a pretty good sample size with Kobe Bryant and Kevin Durant. A lot of guys have come back in basketball. We've yet to see it too much in football, though.
Yeah, I mean Marlon Mack's a guy who came back from injury, and you think he's running with the ones or maybe the twos, and now he's on the practice squad. So it's just like it's super interesting there. Oh goodness, I did not realize I'm on the clock, and now I feel gross. Oh, I'm gonna take a gross pick. I think I'm taking a gross one there.
Ooh, not what I expected.
That's not gross. I would have done the same thing.
I like it. I was expecting Isaiah McKenzie, but I like it.
I know, but I've gone 3 wide receivers in a row. I have Ken's here and McKissick. Yeah.
Remember just a couple weeks ago when Isaiah Pacheco was going in like the 6th, 7th round?
That was amazing.
What were we thinking?
We can't learn from our own freaking lessons here.
People just fall into like hype and then just get stuck there.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I almost took Isaiah McKenzie just to watch your blood boil, Vic, but I could have packed up on Jacoby Myers there. And then J.D. McKissick, a guy that I haven't really been warming up to, but you expected, after, what happened with Brian Robinson, the news that we got, I expect to see J.D. McKissick's ADP skyrocket, and he hasn't really budged. He's still getting drafted where he was beforehand. It seems like he's going to have a little bit more of a role here. But what I will say is I think that these auto picks are really helping us get some nice value here. I mean, in no real draft am I expecting to get Jacoby Myers at 12-12. But when you look at, these are the auto pick teams right here.
Defense.
Seen a lot of brown and a lot of pink. I don't think you're going to see that too much in your standard draft. So this might be something we'll
never know, man. I saw some crazy stuff happening yesterday and the day before.
I mean, in my home league, somebody took the Buffalo Bills in the 7th round. And I said, don't get me wrong, I like the Bills, but what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to play them week 1 against the Bengals? No, you're not. Like, you just wasted your pick. And
yep. Yeah, someone took the Bills in round 6 in my draft 2 nights ago, man. That was gross.
When people take kickers super early, like, nah, just don't do it, please.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm streaming kickers, defenses, tight ends. I don't even, if I don't get a top 5 tight end, I'm streaming that position too. I'm going to be busy on waivers this year. That's what I can tell you guys.
Yeah, I agree, man. But that's where you're winning. You don't win at the draft. You don't win at the draft.
Vic, I was going to talk about your Christian Watson pick. Now with, Alan Lazard questionable for week 1, who knows? Christian Watson.
I cannot believe that happened, by the way. You guys got to be kidding me. I've been hyping this man up all offseason, and then he's just an undisclosed scratch right before the season starts. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, though. What's going on?
It's a Sammy Watkins week, though. Let's be honest. Week 1 always.
I've heard people saying that, but he has, like, all right. I looked it up just earlier today. No, he put up like 12 points last year. People are really grabbing onto what he did in 2019 when he put up 47 points week 1. And then he put up like 20 something in 2020. And then he put up like 12 or 13 points last year. Okay, it was a 2019 season where he put up 46.8 points that people are still holding on to, which was unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I'm just
no, but it's more so because he shouldn't be putting up any points because he's Sammy Watkins now. So anytime he puts up any points, it's like, oh my God, this is incredible. And
then he's everybody's favorite pickup after that. And yeah, Nico Collins at 15-11. Wow, that one really snuck past my radar. I did not see Nico Collins there. I think my favorite pick so far of the draft, at least on my end, though, is Jacoby Myers at 12-12. I can't believe that.
Yeah, that value
is great. This man was 16th in target share last year. Like, this guy was putting up top 20 target share and consistently drafting him as like, the wide receiver 50, wide receiver 60 off the board. Are we really that scared about Devontae Parker? Or is this just a broken ADP?
No, definitely not scared.
I am
What
done.
are we thinking here?
Wait, come on. I picked my guy. Okay.
Oh.
And done.
Quick one.
I like the way my
Who is
team
gonna
turned
be
out.
the
Alec
last
Pierce,
pick?
I'm looking at that Njoku pick. I feel like that's a good way to do it.
I missed out on him.
Have a guy that's safe like Ertz, will give you a decent floor, and then you got the high upside guy with Njoku. I feel like that's the way to do it. You get 2 guys that are like very different archetypes. I did the same in my home league draft recently with quarterback, but the same kind of idea. I took Tom Brady and I took Trey Lance, and Tom Brady's going to give me that floor and stability. And then if Trey Lance hits, like Njoku could possibly hit and be an elite weapon, then you just make that swap after a few weeks. So I like that one a lot.
No, I appreciate it. I have so much in Njoku. It's He's probably definitely my most roster tight end. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
And this has been my favorite defense that I've been drafting all offseason.
I forgot to draft a defense.
That's all right. But just for that week 1 matchup, Denver playing in Seattle, I mean, that just feels like a bloodbath, right? I mean, what are you guys expecting from that game? Let's just talk through that one real quick.
Baltimore playing the Jets. That's a nice one. Colts playing Houston. I love the Colts there. 49ers. Sorry, Dave, playing Chicago. I love those defenses to start.
I think that Chicago 49ers game, I mean, I'm obviously invested being a Bears fan, but I think that game is going to have some of the most fun storylines. I mean, you got both year 2 quarterbacks, the most athletic quarterbacks of their class facing off against each other. Are both of these guys going to live up to the hype? Are they both going to bust? Could one of them hit and the other not? I mean, we're going to find out a lot about that game. We've also got the whole Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk situation. I mean, last year, Deebo Samuel was a bona fide wide receiver 1 to start the season. And about halfway through, Brandon Ayuk stepped in and was the wide receiver 1. Deebo was maintaining his points with his work on the ground. But, I mean, this kind of blows my mind. But Brandon Ayuk was the wide receiver 16 from week 9 onward last season. So now we're looking at a team that's going to skew towards running the ball a little bit more. And they're going to be splitting targets between Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. You know, I prefer Ayuk at cost, but my gut is telling me that both of these guys are just going to fail to live up to their ADP this year. I think it's going to be a very run-heavy team, and I think between George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, I think all these guys are going to have some boom weeks here and there. We also saw Elijah Mitchell last year could not handle a full workload. He was just consistently getting banged up throughout the season. So then they go out and they draft TDP, Tyrion Davis-Price. They've also got a healthy Jeff Wilson Jr. right now. This is a team that we've become so used to them just having monster fantasy producers. But I'm starting to become a little bit concerned that was because of Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, he would just flick the ball to his playmakers and let them make plays. But now with it being a little bit more run heavy, they might spread the ball out a little more. This could end up not being the same San Francisco team that we've loved for fantasy over the last few years.
I definitely see Trey Lance taking away, obviously, multiple rushes, multiple rushing touchdowns. So I haven't really been in on Elijah Mitchell on too many drafts this year because of that. And not the injury-prone thing, but just that you already mentioned. We saw he couldn't handle that workload. And they recycle their running backs. Whoever's the hot hand, I just always get nervous on. You think you pick up the right guy once a San Fran running back gets hurt, turn around and Kyle Shanahan's like, nah, psych. You thought it was gonna be this guy? Nah, I'm running Jeff Wilson this week. So that backfield scares me.
Remember how quickly that whole situation was flipped on its head twice last year in the first half of football? We thought Trey Sermon was going to be the guy. Raheem Mostert comes out as the guy. Raheem Mostert blows out his knee in the first quarter. And then Elijah Mitchell, who most people didn't even know who he was, steps in as the guy. I mean, like, we went through 3 RB1s on that team in a matter of 1 quarter of football. I mean, it's Shanahan's.
We were taking Trey Lance, what, in the 6th?
Trey Sermon, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Trey Lance. Trey Sermon is what I meant, yes.
Yeah, right around the same ADP that Damien Pierce is going this year. Just saying.
He's actually the RB1. He's actually the RB1. That's a different situation.
Look at that depth chart, baby. Pierce RB1. Let's go.
Let's go through before we wrap up here. Let's each do a quick breakdown on our team. I'll go first. Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette as a start. That is probably one of my most rostered duos in Underdog through all the drafts that I've done so far. When you take Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall, number 2 overall, number 3 overall, wherever he is, and Leonard Fournette is sitting there at the back half of the second round, I just can't help myself from that duo. I feel like I'm getting 2 top 5 running backs in PPR. So that just feels like a no-brainer to me. Already talked through the Tyreek Hill pick a little bit. Not too crazy about that one. Didn't want to fall victim to early quarterbacks going off the board, but with Lamar Jackson being my QB2 and him sitting there at the 3-4 turn, felt pretty good for me there. And then, as you can see, just smashing high upside wide receivers after that. DK Metcalf, Rashad Bateman, Darnell Mooney, Traylon Burks, Sky Moore. The way that this is set up with 3 wide receivers and 3 flexes, I don't really care too much about running backs. I mean, obviously you want to fill those positions, but really you're going after as many wide receivers as you can here. So I like all those picks, sprinkled in Nyheim Hines, who I feel like fell to a good value, and then got my last wide receiver in Jacoby Myers, who getting Jacoby Myers as a wide receiver 6 just feels like cheating. After that, J.D. McKissick, satellite back, Deonta Foreman, pure handcuff, Jamal Williams, pure handcuff, and then we already talked about Denver a little bit, and we got Ryan Prose, who was in the mock draft with us, also in the comments, saying Denver also gets Houston in week 2, so don't have to worry about my defense for the first 2 weeks, which is great. Yeah. Overall, I've done 3 of these mock drafts now. I got to say this is my favorite one, and I'm going to chalk that up to half of this being on auto draft. Did we get any kicker 2s or defense 2s? No, everyone only took 1, but it definitely pushed some value down the board a little bit. Vic, walk us through your team because, I mean, I'm trying to find a pick that I don't like, and I don't think it exists. I like every single pick that you made there. I think that you knocked this out of the park. Walk us through it, Vic.
Shoot. I mean, look, I thought Eckler would fall to me there, or Justin Jefferson, and look at that, Jonathan Taylor right into my lap. Couldn't say no. AJ Brown, I'm all in on him for this season. I love the Hurts AJ Brown connection. I'm hoping we see a lot of that this season. I was thinking about taking Hurts where Troy did, potentially where that Allen Robinson pick was, but I was hoping Joe Burrow was the guy I would hold out for as the last quarterback there that I'd love for my QB1, but Dobbins' value, I skipped over Kittle. We talked about him enough, though. Dobbins' value dropping that low is wild. You just hope he can come back and be healthy. But we've got 2 running backs. I can use Rashad Penny until they run him into the ground, and Ken Walker's ready there for my RB2 spot. Allen Robinson, my goodness, this man better pop off this season. I just don't. We've seen LA support 2 wide receivers since the beginning of time. I just think he's going to have a comeback player of the year, maybe. Who knows? I don't know if wide receiver will do it, but he's got that potential. I love it. Elijah Moore, I mean, goodness gracious, if you follow me on Twitter, you probably unfollowed me by now by the amount of times I tweeted about my love for Elijah Moore this season. He's got that connection with Flacco, so we'll see how he starts the year. Kadarius Toney, you just hope that man stays healthy because he is just electric when he's on the field, but you know what? Hopefully we get to see that. Same with Michael Gallup. I just think that value is wild there. I think he'll be ready within the next couple of weeks. And then you've got they're a team of need. Dallas needs pass catchers there. The no more Amari Cooper. You got to go Gallup there. Same kind of concept with Rondale Moore, with DeAndre Hopkins being out for the first 6 games of the season, suspended. I'm hoping he gets a little bit of a higher metrics this season for where he's catching the ball off the line of scrimmage. They better just use him a little bit more creatively there in Arizona, hoping for that. Algier was kind of my iffy pick there, but you never know. You're just taking a chance there on running back that could, it's wide open in Atlanta. So why not? McKenzie, my boy, also someone I've been tweeting about forever. That value there is wild. If he's going to have that Cole Beasley slot role, Cole Beasley had 100+ targets each year the last 3 years. So that value you could potentially get there is wild. Talked about Christian Watson already a little bit and TDP. KJ Osborne, just a little – I forgot to draft a defense there at the end. We already talked about a couple other defenses we would have taken. But KJ Osborne, I'm pretty interested in. I don't know how much run he's going to get. It all depends on Thielen, I guess. And, Thielen's getting up there in age. I don't know what that dynamic's going to be like for this season with Thielen. So
I'll add something about KJ Osborne real quickly because I am also a big fan of KJ Osborne. Kevin O'Connell coming into Minnesota, playing now the head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams last year. The Los Angeles Rams ran more 3 wide receiver sets than any other team in the NFL. So even if Adam Thielen is healthy, KJ Osborne should still see a decent amount of snaps. And then you're also looking at that contingent value, or if something happens to Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen, then all of a sudden KJ Osborne's the wide receiver 2 on a very pass-heavy offense. So love that pick. Just wanted to sprinkle that little stat in there, Vic. That is a just incredible 16th round pick.
Love that stat. All right, Troy, let's hear you.
I'll go me. So I went DeAndre Swift, Kamara to begin with. I mean, it's just a deadly duo in terms of pass catching ability. Like, their upside is crazy there. I got DJ Moore as my wide receiver 1. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd feel much more comfortable as him being my wide receiver 2. But I believe that, look, he's an underrated wide receiver. He should see a ridiculous target share, so I'm fine with it. Waddle, we already know what he did last year. Yeah, he's going to see a dip in target share, but I think he's going to be very involved still. He's going to see lighter coverage, and I think he just has more upside. Hopefully we see more shots down the field as well this season for Waddle. Then I went Jalen Hurts. I think he's top 5 confirmed. Like, I absolutely – his upside is ridiculous. And we got Gabe Davis as my – what's that?
Over Kyler? Because I think that's a big debate that we're hearing a lot of now. I mean, I see you drafted him above
I can see him being Kyler. Yeah. I can see him. And then Gabe Davis as my wide receiver 3. We already talked about him. Damien Pierce, the new hotness. I'm a little bit nervous about the RB1 on a bad team who's not really profiles as a pass catcher, but all the hype we've heard about him, hopefully he gets a little passing work. And he was just really efficient in the preseason. Hopefully that translates to the regular season. Zach Ertz, we saw him in his connection with Kyler immediately once he got there when he was traded to the Cardinals. We should see more of that, especially, I know he's a little banged up right now, but with DeAndre Hopkins suspended, I believe Zach Ertz should see even higher target share and that consistency with Kyler. Then I went upside with George Pickens and Garrett Wilson. Like these guys, we've heard a lot of hype about him. Garrett Wilson, just a very high draft pick on him, and he's just a fantastic wide receiver prospect. So hopefully we see that connection with Flacco and then eventually Zach Wilson. Rachaad White, he's a prolific, running back who catches passes and he gets Tom Brady. As long as he could pass pro, he's going to be on the field. And look, Leonard Fournette, obviously he's the RB1 there, but seeing Rachaad White in that quote unquote James White role, for lack of a better term, I think it'd be very successful. And maybe get
Leonard Fournette
some
misses
1 and 2
like
down
2 to
low.
3 games every year. You just got to chuck Lenny up.
Exactly. So he's going to get his opportunity. Yeah,
Yes, he
and
will.
then MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, just the upside, just being a Chiefs. Hopefully, I don't know what his role is going to be, but getting him that late, I like that. I like the upside. I went Chiefs, another Chief, Isaiah Pacheco. We'll see how he is. I mean, they got Rojo, CH, they got McKinnon still, so I don't know where Pacheco's going to be in that mix, but there's a lot of hype around him. David Njoku, we already talked about. And lastly, Jameson Williams, he's a burner. Obviously, he's hurt right now. We're not going to see him for a while, but getting him that late, the only reason I got him that late is because of the auto picks, but I've been stashing him on my IR.
Williams.
So if you have an IR spot, you should stash him there. And then lastly, Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is a guy who's also being very undervalued. No one seems to like him that much. I don't know. I feel like he wasn't a very touted prospect going into the draft. So when he was selected in the second round by the Colts, I think a lot of people were surprised. But the wide receiver 2 position in Indianapolis is wide open. So I like him as my last pick. But usually you're not going to get him as your last pick all the time.
Yeah, I love it, guys. This was well done. I think that everybody had a pretty strong draft here. Like I said, I think some of the auto drafting made it a little bit easier for us. But hey, I'd be proud to roll this team out in a 12-team league anywhere. So go ahead and share this one on social media, and don't tell anybody that we had 6 auto drafters in here. And just be like, this is why you take my advice. Don't do that. But really, guys, I mean, I'm thrilled. It's here. Tomorrow is the last day that we will have to go without watching football. And then Thursday night, we've got a very fun game to be at. Vic, let me know where you're sitting. I'll be trying to find you in the stands. But
you won't see me. I'll be up in the 400s.
Yeah, that LA life. That's the way it is. But before we sign off, Vic, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me at FFB_Victoria. I'll be tweeting live updates. And the first update will be Gabe Davis. Steal of the draft as soon as he scores that first touchdown on Thursday night. Y'all, Twitter's going to be going off on the Gabe Davis debate. I can't wait.
Imagine if he scores 4 touchdowns on Thursday night. Twitter will be going
if he scores
insane.
2, if he just scores 1, that'd be crazy. If he scores more than 1, then it's going to be off the rails.
It's going to be wild. I can't wait.
Cannot wait. Troy, let everyone know where they can find you as well.
You guys can find me at King Mode, pretty much on all social media platforms. Twitter's my home base. You'll probably see a lot of memes of me because that seems to be a popular thing now. But check me out at King Mode.
And you can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge, Kluge. But most importantly, be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/footballguys if you have not already. You can find this trio, me, Victoria, and Troy. We are together every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I got
Wednesday
that
night.
Right? Wednesday night at
7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, Wednesday night. Sorry, it is all becoming a blur for me at this point. Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You could submit all of your questions to mailbag@footballguys.com or find us on Discord where we got our own little channel and you could drop questions in there. We are thrilled that it is almost football season. It'll be here before you know it. And next week, when you see the 3 of us together, we will be talking about week 1 takeaways and week 2 matchups. Thank you so much for tuning in. And